say it's pretty incredible. You have guest starred on almost every major TV show in the last, I would say, 2 decades. I mean, just to name a few, right? We have Desperate Housewives, Dexter, Malcolm in the Middle, 2.5 Men, Heroes, Scrubs, CSI. You've had some famous TV boyfriends, like I just mentioned, Ross Geller, and then you also played Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend in an episode of Seinfeld, which Dustin was a huge fan, my fiance. He was like, the Frogger, that's one of my favorite episodes. So I just have to ask, because I think a lot of us who are not as familiar with that world, sometimes we look at celebrities or we look at public figures and they seem almost larger than life. And maybe difficult to relate to, or we just think, oh, like they've got it all figured out. But what's something that is actually surprising that most people wouldn't realize about these people?
Most of the people that are famous because they want to be famous.
Interesting.
And they will do what needs to be done, and they will play the games and jump through the hoops. And if someone isn't as famous, oftentimes it's because they won't. Mm-hmm. And I know that's like cryptic, but
it's not, though, because it's about what values, right? And like what your priorities are. So continue on. I would like for you to expand on that, but I get the path that you're going down.
Yeah, with men, the men that I've worked with, like the Jerry Seinfeld, the David Schwimmer, all of them were incredibly passionate about the work. And they were huge in studying what they did. They were very focused on set. They were generous and wanted to rehearse a lot and really make it the best that it could be. And if you just watch Jerry in Comedians in Cars, you can see this is his passion, and you've got to have that passion, but you've also got to be able to negotiate relationships. I think it's much easier for men in the field to negotiate those relationships because it's basically run by men. For women, I find it a little trickier, and I've been in situations where I didn't want to placate egos or whatever. I just wanted to do the work. Men can get away with that, but women not always. And so it's a fascinating world, and I think it's very similar to any business situation. There are egos, and then there are people who are about the work. So I don't know if I answered that question.
No, I think you absolutely did. In what may be surprising to people is, and I think this could be applied to really any industry, a lot of your outcomes are tied to the relationships that you have with people, right? And your ability to navigate those relationships. I think we can all relate to that. I think, some of the people here were in book club. We just read a book about the dynamic of power relationships and how that plays into, like, specifically for this book, we read Level Up, and it was about the relationship between small businesses and corporations, and how small businesses are the largest lenders in the United States, because we're always kind of working on borrowed time from corporations who say, oh, we'll pay you net 30, we'll pay you net 90, even though they have the most leverage. And so I totally understand where you're coming from with maybe not wanting to play that game.